2 millennia ago, a meteor struck against the Earth, changing the course of humanity, developed incredible magic powers, and thus started the Neon Age. Megamagic, Wizards of the Neon Age.
What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Megamagic, Wizards of the Neon Age, surprisingly enough. I do hope that sort of little intro cinematic set the tone for the whole thing, because it's definitely the thing that got my interest in this game, I won't lie. That whole thing sets the tone for the whole thing. You got a bit of 80s cartoons in there. Definitely kind of a little bit of a He-Man vibe I picked up in there. Lots of neon, lots of 80s, a little bit of cyberpunk, because that is apparently indie flavor of the month. It's all very cool, it got my attention, what can I say? This is why I kind of wanted to take a look at this game. So this game came out a couple of weeks ago, it came out on April 20th, and I meant to take a look at it back then, but things like PAX happened and going my way, and this kind of got delayed a little bit, so I'm kind of playing a little bit of catch-up at this stage, if I'm honest. So in the interest of that, I do want to take a look at that today. I'm going to give it for our first impressions. So I'm going to hop on into the settings menu first. We have resolution options, we have anti-aliasing goes up to MSA times 8. VSync can be toggled on or off. Music and sound effects are on separate sliders, always good to see. A few language options available to you, and that intro will play literally every time you start the game, but you can turn it off. It is a fairly simplistic graphical style for the game. It is polygonal, but it's very, very, very basic polygons. So, yeah. I don't think the graphics necessarily need a whole heck of a lot more than that. It might be nice to see a few extra things. Well, certainly once you get into 3D artwork, and the game actually is, it would be nice to see a few other things, but yeah, it's solid for what it is. Anyway, let's head on into the game. Let's head on into it. So this styles itself as being kind of an action RPG thing, but it has a number of other elements kind of fused with other genres. So we are this chap, we are Phobon. We carry a magical staff handed down to us from our father, which will allow us to cast spells. We have a sort of general bolt attack. We have kind of an AoE thing, or stun enemies. We have a puddle of mud. I have a shield that can be cast on things. And we can throw down a trap that will explode on enemies and deal some damage to them. And those will all drain my mana bar down the bottom there, but it regens pretty quickly. You'll notice that to the right hand side of the cast bar there are some things which are not the spells. We have a Robo-Puppy, we have a Scobrian, and we have a Junkatron. These are going to be units that I can summon and command to do my bidding, because it's kind of got some weird RTS elements in here. This is like an action RTS, I guess? Which I'm loath to use that term, because I know for a fact that that is a term that Valve likes to call, or liked to call, I don't know if they still do, once upon a time they definitely did call Dota an action RTS. And yet this game weirdly seems to fit that description as well. We have action elements, and we have RTS elements. It is an action RTS. So these guys can be selected, and by shift-clicking I can tell them where to go, what to attack, what to do. A fairly limited control, to be honest. I can select multiples of them. You can give them a defensive position. I can tell them to do that, stay there. We can tell them to follow me, or I can press Alt and select all of them. I can bandbox to grab multiple of them, and we can move them around. So I can move myself around whilst using shift-click to maneuver as well. So I can kind of try, by utilizing combinations of shift and not shift, I can in theory, command both myself and the units. It's not a skill I'm overly familiar with, and it gets a little bit fiddly at times, if I'm honest. Each of these units then does have their own special ability, so the Scobrian can imbue itself with a poison effect, so it will deal poison to enemies, and the doggy can give himself a buff, so it increases attack at the cost of, I believe, that is movement speed, so the dog will move a little bit slower, not noticeably slower, I wouldn't have said, but it will, oh yeah, there we go. While the buff's active, yeah, it'll move just a little bit slower, but it'll deal a bunch more damage. So that's kind of cool. And now I've got other things. So if I press Z, I can dismiss stuff, and I can dismiss that one as well. You got to click. Oh, hang on. No, this is going all wrong. Dismiss all of them. There we go. So I get my mana back, and we got basically these two lights down here are the. They call it the population pool. So the population of things that I can have. So the dog and the Scobrian take up 1. I can have a big robot that will take up 2. That will fill my entire population. This guy I haven't found to be as useful to me. I mean, maybe later on in the game when you can have multiple units, he will become, but right now I just found it more advantageous to have more units to do my bidding than just one big unit. So kind of disappointing that some of the units to me are just like, there's just not really any point in having these guys. So honestly, I'll just take these guys with me. They can come with. So we shall head on in. I'll head on into our journey. Let's go into the town. We are in the course of our journey trying to find a professor who will give us some knowledge, and we'll be able to get a bit of narrative stuff from him. I have wandered around this town a little bit, so I have seen a little bit of kind of if I get my spells up. We got these crates, we can find things. I know roughly where I'm supposed to be heading. I think if I talk to some of the women, they might do. You know, the order opened a temple? Yeah, I did. I had passed that on my travels. One of them gives us a clue, which then marks it on the map, and I can't actually remember where that is. Welcome to that. Yep, they keep a big cheese. Good for them. Somewhere around here is somebody who will help us. I know there is. Once you know the objectives, it does put a little marker on your HUD to tell you where to go. Yeah, she tells me where it is. Yeah, the university's been moved, but the professor still lives here. So he lives literally right next to her, if we're honest. He lives here in this house. So we're going to get a bit of the narrative, a bit of story here. Minor spoilers potentially, I suppose. But if I'm going to be honest, I don't think the story is the main compelling part of the story of the game, and it's not delivered terribly well, I don't think. So we got these guys going to have a chat. This is a magical floating cloud called Thumb, I think he called himself. He lives within the staff, and he is slightly snarky, is supposed to be kind of funny. And indeed, the characters will highlight this by going, ha 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 ha, you are a funny character. Just to point out to you that that character is indeed supposed to be funny. I'm not finding it to be so much, it's more just sort of snarky than anything else, than particularly funny to any great extent. This is a power-up. This will boost one of our things. Our summoned population has increased, so that's going to up to 3, so we can now carry 3 things, or I could potentially get rid of a Scobrian and have a dog and a robot. So that could be an interesting combination, I don't know. I have to see if the robot's more valuable in combination with other things, or I could have 3 units together. That could be kind of cool as well. Within this guy's house, hopefully he's not too bothered about using it. He has an old crafting bench that we can access. And this is going to be where we kind of configure our loadouts and spells and things, because there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole 20 different spells available to you to learn in the game, and there's 16 different creatures that you can learn to summon as well. You can see some of them are flashing. That tells me they are pretty much ready to be learned. They're both learned in kind of different ways. The spells, you have to find a scroll, basically, whilst you're out and about. For the Grey Skull, part of Necromancy, I have found the scroll, so I can craft this. I can craft that. Some of them I have the scroll for, but I don't have the resources for, so I can't craft that. It doesn't actually tell you what these spells do. There's that doesn't do anything. That basically changes between sort of. If we have a look at something like this, yeah, we've got a bit of story about how this spell comes to exist, and then what the spell does. But on spells that you have the scroll for, you don't know what they do, so a little bit of a crapshoot there. It's like, should I be saving for a Phoenix Blur, or should I just buy this? I don't really rightly know quite what I should be doing. You kind of got these different fields of spells. Neonmancy is just your basic kind of attacks and buffs and things. Vegemancy is obviously plants. Fulgomancy, I'm not even sure what that is. Necromancy probably doesn't need a great deal of explanation. It's necromancy, it's raising the dead. And Sanctomancy is... certainly that one's a trap. I'm not actually sure what the rest of it's about. I'm sure these details were perhaps explained in the early part of the game, but as I say, this was a couple of weeks back now. These creatures, again, fall into different categories, so I have seen some of these creatures. The way creatures are learned are basically by seeing them. So the Punk Panther, lol, the Punk Panther we have beaten a few of them, we've seen it use its ability, we've seen it use its passive ability, but we need to encounter a whole bunch of them in order to be able to learn them. We need to beat 15 of them, we need to see it use its active ability a bunch of times, we have to encounter its passive ability before we know enough about one of these to be able to conjure one ourselves, and then we need to have the materials ready to learn that spell as well. So we have a Gargoyle, which I'm not doing very well on learning about. There's not much information on that at all. On the other hand, the Undead, your basic common or garden zombie, I've beaten a bunch of them. I've seen them recover health by eating their victims, and I've seen them attacking in groups a whole bunch of times. And, moreover than that, I've killed enough stuff that has given me bits of loot. All these things are just loot drops from enemies. I've gotten enough loot from things that I have the materials in order to build a zombie, or a zombie spell at any rate. So I think we could go ahead and do that. That requires me literally any one of those, which I have 52. 3 of those I have 5, and 30 of those I have 109, so I think I'm okay. Can I learn that other spell as well? No, I can't, because now I don't have enough fleshy bits, which presumably involves killing more undead things. Each of these are kind of tied to different kinds of creatures, really. You got those are more tied to your natural ones. Those are, I guess that's supposed to be like a circuit chip. That's more sort of robots, I guess. Yeah, you kind of got... hang on, what have we got? That's kind of your wild, that's your robot, that's your undead, and I guess that's your sidereal? Whatever sidereal is, I'm not quite sure. It's kind of got almost an air of, like, divine about it, I'm not sure. I mean, clearly the item you get from there's like a sparkle. I don't know, I'm not rightly sure what sidereal is, but hey, there you go. So now I can summon zombies, so if we head back out of here, click on that one instead. I don't know why this interface couldn't be rolled into one. We've got my interface down here. You can click left and right on these to move and rearrange your cast bar if you want, or just click on an X to remove it. If I decide I don't want my Scobrian anymore, click that, it'll remove it for us. And how about we have a zombie instead? So I can rearrange that one around my bars if I want. Let's keep the zombie on the end. So let's go with that. I now have access to the zombie, and apparently I can't cast them because I got these things here. How much does a zombie cost? A zombie cost me 1. Great, so I can have a small army of zombies who will follow me around and do my bidding. And I have literally just noticed that they all look slightly different, which is... oh no. No, they don't. I thought they were wearing different clothing. I thought that was a nice touch that all the zombies would be slightly different. They actually don't. They're all exactly identical to each other. So, consider me wrong on that one. Let's have a little bit more of that narrative that we love so much. I'm going to skip through this fairly quickly. I mean, pause the video if you really want to, you know, read the story from the middle of the game. But for the most part, I'm going to skip over this, just so that he'll tell us where we're supposed to be going, and who we're supposed to be talking to, and what we're doing, and what this section of the story is all about. There we go. Talking over. He's going to give us a stack of floppy disks. Yep. We might need to download things onto floppy disks, because it's 80s! Floppy disks. That's very 80s, right, guys? Okay. Now we got our zombies back. There are some occasions in the game where it does just take your units off you. Some of it's narrative, some of it's mechanical. All of it seems a little odd that it would take any of them off you when you are literally, well, kind of trying to make them better. You're trying to have them win enough times in fights that they will become veterans and a more powerful unit. So to have the game just say, actually, you know what? You know all those veteran units you got? No, you can't have them. That's kind of unfortunate, the fact that it just takes that away from you. Not a fan of that mechanic, if I'm honest. These are a little autosave beacons, but they will also function if you can't craft anything here, but if you want to swap out your loadout, you can do these at a save station as well. You can sort of just click on that to just do a quick autosave as well. So we're going to head north into, I believe, the Wastelands. I have a little bit of a loading. Sometimes a little longer than they feel like they should be, but that one was not the end of the world. It might help if you're on a faster hard drive than I have, or indeed an SSD. SSD probably negates a lot of it, that issue. So now these guys are going to go fight these things for me. I'm going to cast a bunch of spells. I'm going to aid them in combat. And they're going to drop things. They're going to drop potions, give me my health back, and a few little bits of resources. So my zombies, I don't know what their powerful ability is. They do a cloud of purpleness. Okay, great. I've got this little compass on the HUD is going to tell us where we want to go. Save stations are going to heal everyone up to full, which out in the wilderness here, if you're trying to get everyone up to veteran, that's not a bad way of doing it. A little bit grindy, but nonetheless effective. You can just go find roaming packs of enemies and have your guys, I guess, basically just train on them. There's towns where there's almost kind of it's more scripted. If you're gonna fight, a fight's gonna be scripted. But then we've got like these wastelands areas where there are just roaming packs of enemies, and you will just get ambushed. Like, I would hesitate to suggest almost too much. They do ambush you like a lot. Okay, so zombies, do your things. I'm not sure what that does. See, that one's got a star by him. He has become a veteran. He's killed enough things, so that's a veteran zombie right there. You can pick up mana from these guys, but you also get a melee attack with F, which if you melee a guy, it will restore a little bit of your mana, and you can kind of try and combo it. It's a clunky system, unfortunately. This whole combat thing mostly seems to revolve around kind of kiting them and doing that a bit, and then meleeing them a couple times to get my mana back, and then we do a stun again, and I can melee it a few more times to get my mana back. And oh look, now there's more guys are jumping me, and this is becoming a problem. Fortunately, I have a veteran zombie that's going to be doing some work here, but this is the problem with the roaming around in the open world bit, is that we're going to get jumped a lot. So I got their health back, but if I head this way, now other things might have spawned because I've left here. You need to commit to something, unfortunately. You need to pick a direction and go that way. And a lot of the combat does just seem to basically descend into me sicking my pack of my bad guys, or grims. Grims is what they technically call them. My pack of mobs onto the enemies and kind of running around, either doing this in order to stun them so that my guys get a few more attacks in, or just pummeling them for a little bit of extra damage in hopes that my guys will kill them a little bit faster. So, hi man! We have a password. There we go, he's going to let us in. Cool. Great. That's because the guy gave us a password. I knew this was here because we passed this kind of on the way here and he doesn't let you in. So, the guy we talked to in the town gave us the password to this place. So now we are into a dungeony kind of place. So we've got an autosave station, and just conveniently in the doorway to the dungeon there's the ancient technology, a crafting bench. Well, I guess spell crafting never changes. Oh, we are sealed in by fire. No, we'll solve this. Cloud's confident that we're going to solve this, so Cloud, let's go on our merry way. So we've got some new creatures here. I'm going to go on a limb and suggest sidereal things, because they look like those, bastets, I think these ones are called. I'm rightly sure. And I'm out of mana. That happens pretty quickly. I could stand to get a few mana upgrades. My frame rate is a little poor, I will say. It's maybe just kind of an artifact of capturing video here. I honestly actually haven't had any performance issues up till now. All of a sudden I'm occasionally seeing this stuttering here. It may be just more related to recording. So I'm not going to hold that one against the game for now. I think if you were to play this game for yourself, you probably would see less of these issues. These guys are probably going to be giving me trouble, I think, if I'm going to run out of mana like this. I could stand to put buffs on these guys. I have this buff spell, and I should use it to my advantage to kill all things. We've got that, that's going to give them their health back. These things also spit out enough mana to fully restore your mana every time. As do these little things. If you're low on mana, these weird sort of mini arcane volcanoes. Great, there are traps that are killing my elite zombies. That's not good. So I might want to tell them all just to stay where they are while I do the thing. Oh wait, yeah. If anything's gonna hit me, it's gonna hit me, I suppose. Admittedly, I've got. Maybe I should be summoning them. Maybe I should be using this guy's sacrificial because he's not. Yeah, that guy's not elite, so I'm not too bothered if he dies. I certainly shouldn't be wasting my health because my health is not going to regenerate. I need potions and things. Let's build a puppy. Take a puppy. No, I don't want to do that. I want you to move. Nope. Okay, so you clearly can't go this way. Not this way. I think this is just a sort of pathway navigation thing. Okay, so it can go that way. Go that way. That's good. That way. Nope, not that way. I can barely see where it's going. It's going to be hard to command if I actually can't see that far. I feel like it's going to kill me. And that dog just walked of its own accord. God damn it. No, go that way. Okay. Then down to this way. Nope. This puzzle is interesting. Oh, I suppose I guess I can walk through this path myself. I mean, desperately trying to stay away from here, but thinking about it, I can probably put it here. So it does certainly use these RTS mechanics in somewhat interesting ways. Okay, not that way. It does use it to add these kind of puzzle elements to things, so the gameplay is definitely very varied. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. I think maybe, as I say, it doesn't necessarily all work together the best it could. It maybe almost overreaches in trying to do too much. I think if it was just trying to do one thing really well, it'd probably be a lot better for it. As it is, it's kind of just trying to do too much. I was just waiting for that to happen. I was like, that dog's going to explode. It's okay. I don't need the dog. What I need is my elite zombie. You need to come with me. I've already lost one elite zombie, so you need to come this way. Follow me. It died. It stepped on an explosion. I stepped on an explosion. God friggin' damn it. Okay, let's try that one again. Do I have to solve the puzzle again? I absolutely do. I know where most of these switches are. Okay. Then that way. Then I'm in a position where I should be not blundering into this myself, but it goes that way. Yep. Then that way. And that way? That way. It was that way out. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, let's summon a couple of things. Let's do this. I've got very little way of getting my health back, so I hope my guys are up to the task of killing these guys for me. Probably not. There's a health potion. That's okay. That's going to keep me alive a little bit longer. And another health potion. Woo! Excellent. There's a big blue switch. Puzzle complete! Great, so now we can head back. So... yeah. So in some sections of the game, it just really doesn't want you to have elite minions. Whilst I will concede that it's entirely possible to do this section, yeah, it's pretty intense on killing your stuff. Let's get some zombies up. Oh, that's not a zombie, that's a giant robot. I pressed the wrong thing. Oh well. Let's see what the giant robot does in conjunction with his robot doggy buddy. Maybe they do interesting things, who knows. If nothing else, we are learning a few interesting things about these guys, probably. Imagine were we to have a look at, like, the spell book. Go into here, and now we can say, we can see what these things are. Okay, I can't actually click on them to see what they are, but we can see that they're kind of, they're a work in progress now. So onwards this way, I guess. I will say I love the soundtrack of this game. The one thing that has kept me going, even when the gameplay was at its most average, was like, I really dig the soundtrack of this game. The composer is Mitch Murder, which players may recognize as the name of one of the musicians from Hotline Miami 2, and also Kung Fury. I didn't pick him up as Kung Fury, but it's one of those ones where like, yeah, he did something in Hotline Miami, right? I've said this about other cyberpunk kind of games in recent history. It's like, It's just something about Hotline Miami, which had a very, very distinctive and very recognizable soundtrack. It was a great soundtrack, and some of those artists have done a lot of other cyberpunk things in recent history, and you can kind of spot them. It's like, it's always pretty good. I'm digging the soundtrack to this. So, I guess we need to do some trial and error dogs on the switches, or... I can't move away from the center button. Okay. And now it literally takes my things off me. I was not paying enough attention to what that was. I guess it was that. Nope. That one. Alright, that one first. Okay. Well, I got a limited number of tries to do this, or it's going to kill. It's literally going to kill me. I am next to one of those things that gives me my mana back, so we can keep doing that. So there, got a memory puzzle. Okay. I hope this isn't going to be too arduous, because I'm not fantastic at memory puzzles. I guess that was that. I get that one, that one, that one, that one, and back to the start. I think I got that. So yeah, I can't complain about the variety of different things they're doing with the gameplay. I think if they'd focused on doing like a cyberpunk action RPG really well, that would have been pretty good. Oh, thank God that was all of it. Yeah. That would have been pretty a-okay. I think if they'd done a weird cyberpunk RTS, it would have had the potential to be pretty okay. As it is, it's a very it's a very minimalist RTS as far as it could be called an RTS. I'm not rightly sure it can be heavily called an RTS. It's very light on that front. And the action RPG elements, I don't know, they're not working for me, mostly because I think maybe they're not working for me too well, just because I feel like I'm spending most of my time trying to micromanage units. Maybe I shouldn't be obsessing over it. Maybe I'm playing the game the wrong way. It feels like that could be a thing as well, but at the same time the game is trying to mesh all these genres, so it's clearly what it would like you to do. It really wants me to be using these units in different formations and casting spells on them to buff them all up a bit and do things with them. And I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to be heading at this stage. I feel like I've seen most of this temple. There's fire this way, so we're not getting through the fire this way. Where the heck am I supposed to go? Is it up? Is it up this way? It might actually have been this way. Yeah, another switch, so presumably another puzzle. Maybe doing something different. There are boss fights, or occasional boss fights. I don't necessarily think I probably don't think I'm going to get to show one to you here today, but once in a while the story does throw a boss fight at you. To its credit, those boss fights are also pretty cool as well. Those are pretty awesome to see. I don't mind a bit of a boss fight in this game. They're pretty awesome. They have you go into some sort of transformed into some crazy ultimate form, and yeah, the boss fights, yeah, they're pretty cool. They do a lot of interesting things. They just amplify your abilities a lot more. It gives you a lot more freedom to run around and mess around in combat a bit more. Whereas at the minute, it just feels limiting, really, I would say. It's just your standard running around, shooting pulses, occasionally stunning them, hoping you're in this case zombies. Let's see what some zombies do for us. I guess this one's just kind of a holdout, a greenery kind of wave-based defense kind of puzzle, if it could be so called a puzzle. I'm not convinced that could be called a puzzle, really. I can pop these up there. I can pop some traps down. Probably should be popping a lot more traps down, in fact, all things considered. Let's get some mana back. Do that. Stun the guys. Are they dropping mana? This is dropping mana over here, and I should clearly be using a lot more of these. Hang around here, I can actually fight things. There's plenty of health. Okay, that's going a little bit better. I just punch you a bit. Are there more waves? Not sure if there are. There's a box, certainly. I learned the hard way, if you punch the boxes open, they have a tendency to explode and deal a crazy amount of damage to you, so don't want that. I figure maybe I have to step on the switch again. Let's find out if I do. Yep, more guys. Let's fight these ones then. Let's take them out. Unfortunately, all things considered, this is just not the game I was hoping it would be. Like I say, that intro cinematic was like, oh, this is gonna be good. I had high expectations for this game upon seeing that. I was like, this gonna be good. This unfortunately has not been anywhere near as good as I wanted it to be. I'm just feeling a little bit let down by it. It's definitely got some good elements in there. Soundtrack is great. Boss battles, a lot of fun. Enjoyed the boss battles a ton. But the average, just I guess what you would describe as the core game loop. I'm dead, aren't I? Yeah. It's just a little bit lackluster, unfortunately. The art style that we saw in that intro scene also kind of maybe doesn't hold up when you get into the game. You see a lot of repeated like character models and things, a lot of things you see time and time again. They just use the same animations and models and things over and over again, which means that a lot of the towns end up just looking the same through and through. Let's get some dogs up, let's see what dogs do for us. I don't know if dogs do anything for us, but let's find out if they do. And maybe a gripe that I'm not sure whether other people are bothered by this, might be just more me coming from kind of a animation background, is that the character is a gripe I kind of do tend to pick out, which is when the run cycles on a character don't match the movement on the floor. If you keep an eye on where his feet are on the floor in relation to what he's actually doing in terms of the run cycle, it doesn't add up. He moves faster than where his feet would suggest he should be. I don't know how to explain that. It just doesn't look right. No, this is the problem. So, definitely got a few issues. Not necessarily without merit. I think there's definitely things in here to like, but I don't necessarily think I want to continue playing it. This is maybe not the game for me, I'm afraid. Anyway, as I say, this is out on Steam. This is available for £10.99, your regional equivalent. Available on Windows and Mac. So if you are interested in picking it up, you can do so. There'll be a link in the description below. But for me now, I think this is about as much of this as I'm really going to play, if I'm honest. I mean, I have seen some reports on the Steam forums that are like, oh yeah, the game opens up and becomes way more interesting about after you've played it for a few hours. I don't know. I guess maybe I haven't hit that part yet. Not really totally seeing that. Maybe it does. Who knows? This is the first impressions, and my first impressions are that it is a little bit boring early on. If it opens up later, that is not within the scope of what I'm doing here, I'm afraid. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching. I have been Meroka. This has been Megamagic, Wizards of the Neon Age. I'm dead again. I'll see you next time.